Hi Caroline, hi Hayley. I'm looking forward to chatting with you in a little while, Caroline. It's going to be great to speak with you. Hi Sam. Hamaz. Hi Ellie. How's everyone doing? Evening Nick. Hope everyone's doing okay. I really missed last week's Friday Live session. It's something I look forward to each week. I love speaking to the guests that come and join me on these Friday Live sessions. So yeah, it felt a little bit odd not doing one last Friday. I certainly missed it. Hi John. Hi Margaret. Yes, Nick, I've been down in Cardiff for the last, I was in Cardiff for a day this week and 2 days the previous week. And that's why I didn't do the Friday Live session last week, because I knew that I'd be exhausted come Friday evening. And it was the filming of the stroke-specific exercise videos that we've got going on in collaboration with the Stroke Association. So it was myself and 3 neurophysios that went down to Cardiff and has filmed a whole library of stroke survivor and stroke specific exercise videos, which are currently being edited. So I had with me Becky, Nicole and Mark, and we were at Ubiquity Group in the S4C studios in Lanishan, and we filmed, it was about three very full days worth of filming. We've done 37 videos in total. They're currently being edited by Ubiquity Group, and they will be made available. The first week will be made available at the back end of next week. So we're super excited about that. I don't know whether anybody has seen the social posts from A Stroke of Luck today, but I've been working with an organisation who have kindly designed some masks now that the day has arrived where every time we go into a shop we've got to making sure that we wear those masks. So we've had A Stroke of Luck masks designed for us. So I want to gauge the interest out there as to whether survivors and those that support stroke awareness want to purchase a mask from A Stroke of Luck. And if so, obviously all proceeds will come into the charity, which will support us on growing the charity and being able to build more videos like the ones that we just have done. So yeah, just popped the designs out there on social to see what the level of interest would be. So I'm hoping that we're going to get a number of people over the next week or so say that they would commit to purchasing a mask, and should that be the case, then I can put an order in and we can get them available on our website to sell. So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, I'm doing well, thanks, Paul. Glad you like the masks, Hayley. And I was just talking about one of our experts that were down in Cardiff, and I can just see that one of them has just joined us. Good evening, Becky. I wouldn't have blamed you if you were flat out in bed fast asleep after the amount of work that you and the other 2 guys have put in over the course of the last couple of weeks or so creating this content. So yeah, a big thank you to you, as ever, Bex, for your professionalism and your support of A Stroke of Luck, and therefore your support of stroke survivors. It was amazing having the 3 of you working so hard in pursuit to create these stroke-specific exercise videos. During the course of the last couple of weeks, we've received quite a number of messages from stroke survivors, which is fantastic because that's exactly what the charity is there for. And a few of them pertain in particular to some conditions that stroke survivors experience and suffer from post-stroke that I don't experience and haven't come across at all. One of them being central pain post-stroke syndrome. So the way it's described to me is it's really debilitating. So I promised that what the charity would do is try and connect people that suffer from those syndromes, so we can try and get a network of individuals chatting so that we know that there's peer support out there. So if there is anybody that suffers from central pain, post-stroke syndrome, or anything similar, or anything that isn't a typical atypical syndrome or typical effect from a stroke, please do let me know, because we will make sure that we cover that off and create a support network for those that do suffer. As you'll know, you'll have seen the marketing this week. This week's live guest is a stroke survivor who had a stroke earlier this year, in fact, in January. Caroline is a group exercise fitness professional as well, so knows very much about the fitness industry. So I'm really excited to listen to her, to hear her story, and for everybody else to be able to engage with Caroline and to ask questions, because clearly Caroline comes from a fitness background, and I would imagine wouldn't have been expecting to have her stroke in her mid to late 30s. So I'm looking forward to bringing Caroline into this chat in just a second. But before I do, I just wanted to mention a couple of people who over the course of the last 2 or 3 weeks have done an awful lot for A Stroke of Luck. The first person that I want to mention is a young lady by the name of Emma Woodhead. You may well have seen the story that the charity posted a few days ago about Emma's challenge that she set herself for the month of July. Her father had a stroke 4 weeks ago today, in fact it was, and she made a decision that she was going to cycle 300 miles in the month of July, and she chose our charity as the beneficiary of her fundraising. So I'm incredibly thankful to Emma. She's doing her final leg of the 300 miles tomorrow, and I've said that I'll go there to the finish line and support her over the finish line. And I'm really looking forward to meeting her, and I'm looking forward to meeting her dad, who has now been discharged from hospital and is taking his onward recovery at home. The other person that I want to mention is another remarkable young person, a guy called Matthew McCrudden. Matthew contacted me a couple of weeks ago or so, and all 4 of his grandparents have had a stroke, and 3 unfortunately have passed away because of stroke. So stroke is kind of something that's very, very important to Matthew and his family. Anyway, Matthew did the 3 Peaks Challenge last weekend and completed it in just over 23 hours. We are going to be creating Matthew's story on his challenge. We've got some videos, we've got some great photos, and obviously we've got the narrative as to his experience around the 3 Peaks Challenge. And Matthew is actually going to be my live guest next Friday, talking about his 3 Peaks Challenge and what it meant to him, raising money for a charity like A Stroke of Luck, and how other people can get engaged. So Matthew's a very young guy, and yeah, someone that I'm in awe of. To do what he's done and to raise the money that he's done for a charity is quite incredible. So I'm looking forward to chatting with Matthew next week, and I'm sure everyone will enjoy listening to his story. Okay, so now, if I remember how to do this, because I've had a week off, I'm going to be inviting Caroline into this session. Right, I can see, Caroline, you're definitely watching. I'm adding you now. Fairless. Hopefully you'll get the invite, and you will be joining me. There she is. How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. I'm fine. How have your couple of weeks been? Because I know you're away, weren't you, last weekend? Did you have a good weekend away?
Yeah, it was good. Quite tiring. It's the first time I've done anything like that. So yeah, it was quite a lot, but it was good. Nice to see friends.
You enjoyed it though?
Yeah.
Good. Well, thank you ever so much for joining A Stroke of Luck and me on this Friday live session. I know that we spoke for the first time maybe a month ago or so when I saw your story published. So I made contact with you, and your story is a remarkable story. I mentioned earlier in the kind of introduction that it was only earlier this year, I think it was January, wasn't it, that you had your stroke, Caroline, which we'll move on to. But I think it'd be really good to kind of set the scene and kind of contextualize your life before you had a stroke. So if you're able, can you kind of tell us a little bit about your life before stroke?
Yeah. So I work at David Lloyd Health Club. I've worked in health clubs for, since I was about 22, since I came out of university. I taught group exercise classes the majority of that time. I had two years recently where I didn't teach classes, but I went back to it about, 18 months ago now, so about the end of 2018, I started teaching again. So I was teaching body pump, abs classes, aqua, HIIT class, and I used to work in a gym as well. So it's always been pretty much part of my life. Um, yeah, work is a big part of my life.
Where did you go to university? Did you study kind of a sports degree?
No, I did dance and business.
Dance and business.
Yeah,
Fantastic. And then you
yeah,
ended up in the gyms.
yeah. So I went into teaching fitness classes from after that.
But dance, I guess, gives you a great foundation for fitness anyway, doesn't it? So it's a natural progression to teaching
Yeah.
classes. Do you teach dance at all? Do you coach dance now?
No, I did do my ballet teaching qualifications, and I used to teach like adult dance classes, one called Fitness Ballet and one called Urban Funk.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I used to do that.
Is there an opportunity for dance classes for stroke survivors, do you think? Do you think that's something that
Yeah,
might be an option?
yeah. I spoke to my counsellor actually today, and she sort of planted the seed of dance therapy. So yeah, looking at options maybe for the future.
Yeah, well, it's interesting you say that because I'm connected with somebody who is a dancer, and she works with an awful lot of people that have disabilities. Um, and she's very interested in getting involved in the charity. So I'm sure it's something that we could potentially have a chat with her about, Caroline, if it's something that you want to progress. That'd be quite an interesting conversation to see where that
Yeah,
goes. So
yeah.
you've taught for a long time. You're obviously a very fit individual who's looked after your health. You have to be a dancer, and then going into the fitness industry as well. Did you have any underlying health conditions which would have made you more vulnerable to suffer stroke?
No, I didn't. My blood pressure's okay. My cholesterol was okay. Um, it was an unfortunate carotid artery dissection. So one of the main arteries in my neck um, basically tore inside, and then a clot built up and moved to my brain. Um, so yeah, that's what caused it.
And did you know what the cause of the dissection is?
Yeah, they think it was a virus that I had at Christmas and physical activity. So that's what they've put it down to as triggering it.
Okay. So I know that we've spoken and I kind of know your story, but there might be some people watching it don't. Are you able to describe the day's events of when you had the stroke and kind of how it unfolded and how it played out in the on the day and then the kind of immediate aftermath of your stroke?
Yeah, so I woke up, it was a Friday morning, so it was just over 6 months ago now. Woke up with a slight headache. My
Yeah.
chest infection seemed to be clearing and my cough seemed to be going. But I knew I still didn't feel right, but I couldn't put my finger on why. So I went to work. Um, I was teaching an abs class in the morning at 9 o'clock. And during the class, my speech slurred when I was saying a few words, which obviously wasn't normal. Um, I carried on. I even said, sorry, I can't seem to get my words out. Um,
So you were quite cognizant of the fact that you were struggling with speech, were you? Right.
yeah, I was quite aware of it. Um, and then I have a changeover of classes at 9:30. So I got up, and the members sort of they go and leave the class, and some come in and some stay. So I was sort of saying to people, you just need a mat. And one of the members came over to me and said, I think you need to sit down. I don't think you can teach. You don't look very well. I'm going to go and tell reception that you're not teaching. And I said at the time, I was like, no, I'm just a little bit dizzy. I'll be fine in a few minutes. And she said, no, she was quite insistent, and off she went. She went to tell reception. And then there was another member that said, I'll go and get one of your colleagues in the gym. So she went off to do that. And then somebody else came over, another member who happened to be a doctor, it turned out, and she said, we need to get you sat down. You need to go down on, have a rest. So I think I was helped down.
Yeah.
tried to drink my drink and I poured it in front of me. So that was another thing that didn't seem right. And then I just knew that the staff were there. The emergency alarm had gone off for me. So the
Right.
room had been cleared. The staff had come in. Somebody with a defib had come in.
Right.
So, and that's what happens in an emergency situation in a health club. So I was very fortunate to have been there. And then it all seemed to clear up. I was okay speaking, and I could walk to another office and sat there for about half an hour. So about 10:30 in the morning, I was just about to be taken home by my colleague,
Yeah.
and she got in the car and she started talking to me because she could see my legs shaking, and she spoke to me, and I couldn't say the word spinach. So she said, "We're getting you back inside, we're calling the paramedics." So yeah, it just unfolded from there. Paramedics came quite quickly. Again, my speech was okay again. I could do the tests that they did for stroke.
Lifting your arms and that kind of thing.
Yeah, all of that stuff. And then they took me to hospital. So I was wheeled out on a stretcher from work into an ambulance, and I was taken to Harrogate Hospital. Yeah, and again, it was a while later. It was 2 hours later that I had the stroke in hospital. I had had a chest X-ray. I'd had assessments from a student doctor and another doctor, and again, I could do everything like raising my arms and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then they gave me an aspirin, and as I drank the aspirin, it was coming down the left-hand side of my face, out of my mouth.
Yeah.
And so my partner, he tried to sit me up a bit, but that's when we realised that my left-hand side of the body, I couldn't move it.
Really?
So, yeah.
Okay.
So
How did that make you feel at the time? Were you really quite anxious and scared?
Yeah, I think up to then, I didn't really know what was happening. I think they'd mentioned that it might have been a TIA.
Yeah.
But they were waiting for the CT scan. So
Yeah.
the stroke happened as I was waiting for it. And my partner said that I just went very quiet. I didn't really say very much.
Yeah.
So yeah, it all happened very fast. Again, I was quite coherent and I knew what was happening. They got me in an ambulance, blue lighted me to LGI, which is Leeds General Infirmary.
Yeah.
And that's the nearest neuro centre. And within about an hour and a half or something from getting there, I was in surgery to have a thrombectomy.
And how was that?
So that was complicated. Normally it takes about an hour, I think, to 2 hours for the surgery. It took 4.5 hours for me. So the dissection.
Were you being awkward?
Yeah. Yeah, just a little bit. So the dissection had closed too much for them to go. I don't, if just to explain the procedure, they go through your femoral artery in your groin and go up to your brain to pull the clot out, and they couldn't get through here, so they had to fit a stent,
Right.
which was quite big, so to get the clot. So yeah, it was a long time in surgery. Thankfully, I wasn't awake.
No, I'm sure. So the surgery was a success?
Yeah, surgery was a success.
Yeah.
The only complication really is that the stent is now blocked, so it's 100% occluded.
So what does that mean? What does that mean to you?
That means miraculously my blood finds another route to my brain.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Around my body, yeah. I think people can be symptomatic with it, but I wasn't, so they leave it as it is. They don't touch it.
And from a psychological perspective and an emotional perspective, how does that make you feel? Because I can only imagine, as you know, the cause of my stroke is a dissection as well.
Yeah.
I didn't have a thrombectomy because it took me 48 hours to go to hospital, so it was too late for me at that point. Yeah. They're waiting to see whether they're going to do surgery on my dissection, and a stent is an option. And I'm nervous about it. So I can't imagine kind of the emotions that are attached to the fact that you've had one and it's now blocked. So how do you deal with that? Or are you able just to compartmentalize it and don't think about it?
A bit of both. When the Harrogate team, because I went back to Harrogate Hospital for my sort of recovery, those doctors aren't specialists in stent.
Right.
So they didn't really know a lot about it. So they told me after a CT scan that it was blocked. And yeah, I was upset. I was worried. I didn't really understand what that meant. So then they spent a good few hours trying to get in touch with my consultant in Leeds, trying to find out what it means and what happens and whether there's more surgery, because that was a worry. I didn't know if I'd have more surgery. And eventually they got hold of the on-call neurologist, who said, usually in these circumstances, we leave it. And I was like, okay. So how does that work? One of your main arteries you don't have working. So the only thing they really said to me was that I had to only walk for about 8 weeks until I saw my consultant. So no exercise as such.
Yeah.
That I may suffer with lightheadedness in the future, and that I'd probably have to be careful that my blood pressure doesn't go up. So they've advised no weights,
Okay.
no weight training. And other than that, yeah, you worry about moving your head and being in the car and stopping suddenly and putting your head up. And yeah, so for a long time I was like robotic with my movement. And eventually, once I saw the consultant, it was easier, because he's actually a member from the gym that I work at, so I knew him, which is odd. But once I'd seen him, he was so good in explaining everything that had happened, that you just have to trust what they're saying, and that it will be okay.
They are the experts after all, aren't they? So, you know, we literally place our lives in their expert hands.
Yeah.
Well, clearly you're doing a remarkable job in your recovery. I'm a firm believer that mindset has a huge influence on people's ability to recover and their rehab journey. Your rehab journey, though, has been, as other stroke survivors will have experienced that are recent stroke survivors, i.e. stroke survivors in late 2019 and through 2020, is probably a very different recovery journey to someone like me who had a stroke in 2018. And that all pertains to this current kind of pandemic and the crisis that's going on, and therefore an inability for survivors to engage within their normal recovery process and the kind of flow of rehabilitation. So you went from Harrogate to Leeds and then back to Harrogate. How long were you in hospital for in total, Caroline?
11 days.
Okay. And then you were discharged back to home.
Yeah.
Okay. How has that been for you in this pandemic and this crisis?
Yeah. So when I got out of hospital, I went to my parents for 2 months.
Yeah.
So my partner was working a lot, and whereas my parents could have been in with me, we were also getting our kitchen done, so it wasn't the right place for me to be at home.
Yeah.
So I stayed with them for 2 months. Luckily for me, I managed to see friends before COVID happened, like the lockdown happened and things. So I did see quite a lot of people. But then my consultant appointment was the 16th of March. So that was 5 days before lockdown happened.
Yeah.
So with the counsellor, I'd sort of said that I'll put a step-by-step sort of guide in place to move home, to go out, to be around more noise, more people. And then obviously, yeah, that just stopped. So I couldn't do any of it. Work shut, so I couldn't go to the gym to try and get myself fitter.
Yeah.
So it's kind of felt like it's just paused.
Yeah.
And then now I'm able to sort of restart again.
Yeah.
It was hard not seeing people. It's hard. I'm quite sociable, so it's hard it was hard in the beginning where you couldn't see anybody.
Yeah.
Luckily, I'm motivated to go out for walks and things, so I was able to get outside, and that probably did my mindset a lot of good.
Yeah.
And then when we could start seeing people, I was a bit nervous, but my partner sort of tried to push me into seeing people so that I could get back into it.
Yeah.
It was really good because I needed that, and now I'm comfortable seeing people and things like that. So yeah, it makes you feel a bit more isolated, I suppose, when it first happened.
Yeah. And what do you think your biggest challenge then, since you had your stroke, has been for you, Caroline?
My biggest challenge probably has just been understanding myself more psychologically. The biggest challenge has been the counselling and what we've sort of uncovered about me. I think that's and accepting those things about you and the things that have maybe changed since before your stroke.
Yeah.
So even though I'm a similar person to who I was before the stroke, I've lost my confidence and things like that. So yeah, that's probably been the biggest thing for me that's been hard.
Yeah, and I think that word confidence is something that every single person that has a stroke has a challenge with and has a crisis of confidence. I did, without a doubt, and I still do. So I've mentioned it before on these Friday Live sessions. My career pre-stroke, I was very, very used to standing up and doing seminars and doing quite a lot of public speaking. But actually now, I have a real lack of confidence in doing things like that. And even doing these Friday Live sessions, I have to build myself up. I have a routine that starts at kind of 5:15, where I go, I have a shave, I have a shower, and I just follow the same sequence to get myself in the zone, ready for Friday Live. And I'm absolutely certain that pre-stroke, I wouldn't have had to go through any of these kind of steps that I now write down and I follow religiously to make sure that I am as well prepared as I possibly can be, because my confidence has taken a hit. And I think so many stroke survivors experience what you're going through and have experienced. And it's about our ways of dealing with it. And I'm dealing with it in my way, and everybody finds their own way of dealing with a bit of a crisis of confidence. The other word that you used was around acceptance. And for me, that is a huge piece around this whole stroke puzzle. I think anybody that hasn't reached the acceptance stage yet of being a stroke survivor really still is in that victim mentality where they don't want to identify as somebody that's had a stroke. And when they look in a mirror and they see their reflection, it's that very dark perception of the rest of their lives. And that's one that I'm desperate to try and help survivors get through. And it's around confidence and it's around accepting. Actually, you've had a stroke. You kind of need to allow that monkey to jump off your back and not to weigh you down. Because if you allow it to weigh you down, life is going to be a very difficult thing to experience. If you strip that monkey off your back and you allow yourself to say, yeah, I've had a stroke and I'm going to navigate life different path to the one that I was doing, but actually that's okay, because I've got a good support around me. And if I haven't got a support, I will build a support network around me. And I think the acceptance then leads to increases in confidence. You may never get quite back that level of confidence you had pre-stroke, but your confidence will certainly build over time. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. I don't think I had an issue accepting it had happened. I think it did. So it was very much just, I was in Leeds Hospital, this is what's happened. They explained about how it had happened, kept their eye on me for a few days, and then I went back to Harrogate, and then it was just being told what was happening next. So your physio is going to come in, your occupational therapist is going to come in. And it's like my partner would say, I like routine. So for me, it was finding that routine in hospital, and then finding it at home, and then finding it when I moved back in with my partner, and just building on that. So just having that little bit of routine for me. Fortunately for me, physically, I was able to do things that made me feel better.
Yeah.
So not everybody's as lucky. So
I agree.
It can be hard. Yeah.
It can. I've just noted Paul's just there are a couple of comments which I'll reference now. So Paul's made a comment. He did a live with me a month ago or so now. Another stroke survivor who I know you've engaged with on social media, an incredibly inspirational chap, and someone that I love chatting with. I think he's a brilliant bloke. So he said he did his first work committee presentation last week and he smashed it. So that's a brilliant thing. He said it's a big milestone ticked. That's a great achievement. And everything. And I think that's, doing the actual physical ticking off a list of different activities that you want to achieve and ticking them off or highlighting them when you achieve them is something that's a really, really good thing to do. A lovely comment as well saying, people like you, Caroline, are amazing and, inspirational. And then Fiona's just said that she's just gone through a second anniversary of her stroke and she's happy to have found a stroke of luck. And that's exactly why, I wanted to start the charities to try and support other survivors. So, because we are a community, we're a community that has joined a community. Well, the way I'd describe it, I think, is it's the best club I never wanted to be a part of. Because we can make this a really, really strong community that support one another. And for me, that's a really, really important thing about the charity. So we've spoken about your background. We know that you're an extremely fit individual. You've clearly got a significantly high level of resilience. You're able to accept the fact that you had a stroke very early on in your health challenge and health journey. Do you think that your experience of being a very fit and healthy and an exercise focused individual has supported your recovery? And that is a loaded question in that that a stroke of luck has been set up specifically for that. With my background in sport, it's all about physical exercise and activity to support physical, mental and emotional well-being. So would you say that your physical background has supported your recovery journey, Caroline?
Yeah, it is a hard question. Yes, in the sense that I was strong and fit before my stroke.
Yeah.
So I think that's enabled me to follow exercise well. My left hand was weak after my stroke, so for me, it's a case of saying I've got these exercises. This is when I'm going to do them during the day. Just like I would go out for a run or I would teach a class or however that is. But I think, so I think in that sense, yes, it's helped me.
Yeah.
But I think, and from a mental health point of view, I knew that it would make me feel better to be doing it. And obviously with COVID happening, I've found other things to do. So I've been doing Pilates that I've never really done. I've been doing going out running, which I haven't done probably really for over a year.
Yeah.
So it's for me, I've had that positive mindset, but I've always had that self-motivation.
Yeah.
And luckily for me, I haven't lost that. So I think it really depends on what kind of person you are and how it's affected you as well. So if it has affected you physically, it's going to affect you mentally.
Yeah.
So there is a massive tie between the two.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we've got another stroke survivor that's watching this, someone that I'm very, very keen to have a chat with, because he does a sport that I aspire to be any good at and I'm very incompetent at, and that's surfing. So Nick's just said that he agrees, because clearly he's a very, very fit guy and, surfing is his thing. And so, yeah, we got people that have done sport that I personally believe, kind of fit body supports recovery, but it's that agility and fitness of mind as well. Now, we've got one question here as well, Caroline, if I pose it, is around any tips on how to find acceptance. Have you got any tips on kind of how you were able to find acceptance very early on in your stroke?
No, I think I just took it. I think for me, it was just taking every day as it comes, not having any assumptions about the future. Just thinking, right, I'm getting up today. For a long time, for a while, I was worried about going to sleep because I didn't know if I'd wake up again.
Yeah.
So there was that scare. And so, I think the only thing you can do is take it day by day.
Yeah.
Because each day you may accomplish something else, and to give yourself time.
Yeah.
Don't force anything. If you need to rest, rest. If you need to go to sleep, go to sleep. If you need quiet areas, then have them. If you need to listen to music, that might help you.
Yeah.
And just, I think because I had a good understanding and explanation of what had happened, it worried me, it scared me. To think that physical activity, which is part of my job, and the fact that this virus has resulted in this, that's scary. That's a worry.
Yeah.
A lot of people like yourself who are in sport end up with these dissections, so it's a worry. But yeah, day by day, and having that support network as well, who can support you and help you understand
Yeah.
what's happened. But I
Abs-
think acceptance is acceptance for anything is hard, especially if it's something that's not good.
yeah, I agree. And I think I got to the acceptance stage once I realized that what I wasn't able to do is compare post-stroke version of myself with the pre-stroke version of myself. Um,
Yeah,
every time that I sat there and thought, I wish I could, or I wish this hadn't happened to me, I would love to be able to do, and these were things that post-stroke I wasn't able to achieve, certainly in those early months. Once I'd got my head around, actually, Craig, you can't do that right now. Who knows what you can do in the future? But right
mm,
now, you cannot do whatever it may be. Once I was able to get my head around that and stop comparing the post-stroke version of myself with the pre-stroke version of myself, I was then able to accept, actually, I'm a stroke survivor. And now every single day is a new building block for the rest of my life. If I
yeah,
always compare myself now with the version of the chap I was in my teenage years when I was a swimmer, or my early 20s as a swimmer, or even through my early and mid 30s pre-stroke and before having a brain injury, I was always going to end up disappointed in who I now was. So I made that conscious decision, and it's not easy, but I made that conscious decision to say, right, okay, there's now a reset. So it's almost like Craig Part 2 or Craig version 2. And everything I do now is now a new personal best. So if I dived into a swimming pool now, forget the fact I'm unfit. If I was as fit as I were to be when I was a swimmer, there's no way I could achieve the times I used to do. But that's okay because I just set new benchmarks. And every day I wake up, it's a new benchmark. And for me, that's the way I've got around acceptance, is saying, well, okay, I had a life pre-stroke and I loved my life pre-stroke. I've got a life post-stroke and I'm going to love my life post-stroke too. So that's always the advice I try and give other people that have had strokes is don't compare yourself to your previous version of yourself. Embrace the version you are now, because I think you'll lead a much more fulfilled existence. Would
yeah,
you agree with that?
yeah. And I think it's about seeing the positives about that new person that you are.
Yeah,
So for me, it's made me realize that I've always worked so hard, and realistically now I'm probably going to slow that down, and you know to have a better life work balance, and just little things like that, and that it's okay to say no to things if you don't want to do them, and so actually prioritizing yourself
yeah,
and not other people.
yeah,
And I think that's really important with people with stroke survivors recovery, is to prioritize you
yeah,
and not worry about how it might affect others. That it needs to be what is best for you as a person.
yeah. Yeah, I agree. Paul's just said that he can't wait for my guitar solo in the coming weeks, and perhaps, Caroline, you can dance along. One of the things I've wanted to do for years and years and years is learn to play the guitar. I finally bit the bullet and purchased a guitar, and I am pathetic at it, but I'm learning. So the guitar solo, Paul, is not weeks away. It's probably months, if not years away. But I promise I'll do it on a Friday live session, just not prepared to commit to when that may be. We've got a number of other comments coming in. Andrea said, her comment is, Caroline, she thinks you've done amazing in 6 months, and I would agree. I think your recovery from what you've had has been exceptional. So a question here, actually, this is a really good question from Anna. So because you were so physically active before, how did you deal with boredom? So her hobby was being physically active, and I guess boredom's been a real issue, hasn't it, for a lot of people during this pandemic?
Yeah. Well, so I got used to relaxing quite a bit at my parents' house. I did colouring in. I watched TV programs. I actually stayed off social media for a good 2 months after my stroke. It was only after my consultant appointment that I went back on to sort of say what had happened. Because the consultant gave me the okay to run, I spent May raising awareness for stroke by doing a run to raise money for 3 different charities. So I did that, which kept me going. I've set little goals for running since then. But yeah, I've gotten used to like being in the house, which is strange for me. I always have gone out to work, so making food, making soup, or making meals, cleaning, and just doing things around the house. But also reading books. I don't read books, and I've read about. I think I'm on my 7th book now since January,
You enjoying
which
that?
is yeah, which is quite good for me. And I know you've put this in the email that you sent yesterday. I've also started a blog.
Yeah.
So again, that's helped with the boredom. But just sort of getting out the house for a 10-minute walk, just walking around the block and coming back if you can.
Yeah.
Just things like that can help with your mental health and boredom.
Absolutely. So your blog, I think it's important that people are aware of it and engage with it, because I've read it. I think it's great. And I think it's always good to listen to an individual's perspective of their life post-stroke, because people identify with it.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk about your blog and kind of direct people as to where they can find it, Caroline?
Yeah, so the blog page is www.chattycaz.com.
That's a great URL.
Yeah, I've always talked. So really it's about, it was really only to share my story and what had happened.
Yeah.
And then since then I've written about other things. I've touched on COVID. I've written about my experience from my stroke. So what happened, how it's been recovery wise. I've written about my running challenge. I've written about thrombectomy, which is my latest post, which I think is really important to raise awareness of, because there's not enough of it being done because of there isn't enough specialists and centres that do it in the UK. So yeah. So really I'm now using it as a platform to raise awareness. And my experiences, if that's what I'm sort of writing about as well. Yeah. So yeah, and I know you asked if it's been cathartic, but which it has. It helps you get your feelings out, which again I think helps with your mental health, and you're not thinking about it constantly. So even if I know that years ago, somebody said if you've got thoughts in your head that you're sort of stressing about or anxious about, write them down before you go to bed, and that kind of gets them out of your head, so you might not think about them as much.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it's been surprisingly popular, the blog with friends and members at the gym, and more people read it than I think they do.
Yeah. So you've just been asked to just mention your URL again, and we'll pop it at the end of this this live session so people can. I know Instagram you can't link through, but we can at least put the URL so people copy and paste. So it's www. Was it ChattyCaz?
Yeah, chattycaz.com.
Chattycaz.com. So there we go, and we will pop it down to make sure that people can jump on your blog and start following you on social as well, because I think it's important as a charity that we promote other stroke survivors and kind of the work that they're doing as well. I think that's a really important thing that we can support one another with. Okay, so what are your kind of short, medium, and long-term goals? Where do you see your life taking you now, then, Caroline?
So my next goal is going back to work.
Yeah.
So the gym's reopen tomorrow, and I'm grateful I'm not going back tomorrow.
Do you think it's going to be a bit
But
bonkers in there tomorrow with everyone just going straight in?
I think it'll either go one way or another. I think it'll either be really, really quiet or it'll be really busy. Um, so yeah, they open tomorrow, and then my sick note ends on the 8th of August. So that's when I'm hoping to go back on a phased return.
Yeah.
So that's my next big goal, is returning to work. But I've just recently started a sports nutrition course.
Okay.
So I'm doing that online, and I'm considering options for looking at stroke rehab. So maybe not going back to university, but there's a few different ways that you can do it from fitness qualifications as well. So yeah, so it might be 2 years down the line, but that might be a long-term goal for me.
No, fantastic. Well, if you want to hook up with an organisation that deliver those, speak to me, because I used to work for one, Lifetime Training. We got the relationship with them. So yeah, so more than I used to be their head of sales about 10 years ago or so. So I'm really close to a number of their board directors, and Stroke of Luck is now partnered with them. So I can certainly facilitate a conversation to see how they could support you in your kind of educational journey through the fitness industry, if that's something you're interested in, Caroline. That wouldn't be a problem at all. I've just seen Nicola's just posted saying be safe in gyms. Nicola is a lady that lives out in the States. Her dad has recently had a stroke up in Scotland. I've met Nicola through a mutual acquaintance. She's a lady whose drug of choice was chlorine, in the way that mine was too in the younger years. But Nick's a PT. So yeah, I think her advice is obviously valid and incredibly strong, that anyone going back into the gym environment needs to take every single precaution they possibly can. I've got a feeling the gym that I attend is going to be quite busy looking at their social media and looking at engagement on social media with a number of people that want to attend on day one. So I'm making a conscious decision. I probably won't go for the first week, at least the first week. I'll continue to just do my exercise at home. I walk in, my press ups, whatever I can do at home, that's what I'll do. And I'll get back into the gym environment when it's like the January rush, isn't it? The post-Christmas January rush. Everyone needs to get to the gym to lose their Christmas weight. I've got a feeling a lot of gyms are going to be, stacked over the course of the next week, where people are just desperate to get back into kind of the rhythm of inverted commas normal life.
Yeah, and also September might be bad as well, because a lot of our members, because they're family members, they're suspending until September, and then because the schools go back, they'll have more time to go to the gym. So September might have an increase again in people using it.
Yeah.
Some people won't go back for a long time because they'll be too worried.
So, yeah. And I noticed a comment actually earlier on around someone saying that they're kind of filled with dread and filled with worry on a frequent basis. That's also okay. People are allowed to be, and and if you are worried and if you are anxious, you shouldn't beat yourself up about that. It's a natural reaction, especially in this current climate. But just seek conversations with peers is my kind of advice. Have a chat with other stroke survivors, see how they're dealing with it. Create your communities, and don't feel isolated and kind of anxious on your own because other people are feeling that way too. Caroline, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. Have you got anything else that you kind of wanted to say before we finish this live?
Just to say thank you for taking an interest in having me on, first of all. And also, I think that the Instagram platform for stroke survivors is incredible. There's just so much interaction between people that like the person that's just said about anxiety and worry, there will be ways of combating that I've sort of learned through my counsellor. But there's people will have ideas of those things. So I found it's been really helpful to have so many people on Instagram. So I know there's a few people on here that I've interacted with already. So and everybody's page is different, and everybody's page gives you something different. To look at, whether it's physical or mental or a different way of thinking and things like that. So Yeah, I'm looking forward to the exercise stuff that you guys are doing as well.
Yeah, I'm dead excited to get that out. You know, it's been something I've been very passionate about since the pandemic started. Just a slight change in strategy, but to try and get in the homes of as many survivors as we possibly can, not just the UK, but abroad too, because it's not something that's unique and particular to the UK. Stroke doesn't
Yeah,
discriminate. People all over the world are having strokes, and everybody needs support in their stroke journey, for the rest of their lives, and how we can get people as active as possible. Well,
yeah,
Caroline, thanks ever so much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. I no doubt we're going to be speaking very, very frequently. I think you're an incredible lady. I think your journey over the last 6 months have been very impressive and very inspiring. Keep up the good work that you're doing. Keep up with that blog, and I'd love to read a blog around day one back at work and how you found that, both from a physical and an emotional perspective.
yeah.
I think that would be very, very interesting to read. So thank you and well done. And I'll look forward to speaking to you again very, very soon.
Thanks, Craig.
Take
Thanks.
care. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
You too.
Another fantastic individual has joined A Stroke of Luck on this Friday live sessions. An incredible survivor, very, very, very strong. And I love the fact that she achieved that acceptance stage very soon in her stroke journey. I think that's really supported her recovery from stroke over the first 6 months since experiencing stroke. There are a few people that have joined the live that weren't on at the beginning. I mentioned at the beginning around wanting to set up a community for those individuals who suffer from syndromes that aren't as common as things like neurofatigue, for example. So we've had a number of stroke survivors that have messaged us over the course of the last couple of weeks, and some have been around central pain post-stroke syndrome. So if anyone does experience that, please get in touch with A Stroke of Luck. And what we'll try and do is set up a peer support group where people that suffer from these rarer conditions can engage with one another. Okay, so another Friday live session done. I'm looking forward to speaking to Matt, our Three Peaks Challenge expert from last week's challenge that he set himself next week. Please do keep up with the social on A Stroke of Luck. If you haven't seen the masks yet, please do have a look. Please comment, like, and share, because the only way as a charity we're going to be able to gauge the interest and therefore the order level of masks is by interaction from everybody else, whether you're a survivor or whether you want to create awareness of stroke. Please do let us know whether our masks are ones that you have purchased, because if they are, I'll place an order and we'll get masks available on our website. I think they're a really cool design. The company that we've used have done some great work, and they're really, really high quality. They're reusable masks, and yeah, let me know whether they're of interest and we will get the production of them arranged, and then they'll be available within kind of 10 to 14 days. Can we ship to California? Asked Nicola. I can't see a reason why not. There might be additional charge, obviously, for postage and packaging, but I can't see a reason why we can't ship to California, but I'll let you know. But I'm fairly certain it will be able to ship overseas. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on this Friday live session. As I mentioned at the beginning, I really did miss doing one last week, but it's great to be back. It's great to be speaking to getting questions from some amazing people, being able to speak to Caroline, and I look forward to seeing you all again next Friday and having Matthew McCrudden as our guest. All right, have a superb weekend. Please all stay safe, and I'll look forward to seeing you again next Friday. Okay, bye-bye.